If you're saving a ton of money but still don't feel financially free, this episode is for you. Choosing yourself is the most profitable decision you'll ever make. Welcome to the podcast. This is Selfishly Made, and I'm your host, Melissa. So it feels like it's been a while since I actually sat down to record because I think the last time you guys got an episode was maybe a couple weeks ago, but I feel like that was filmed like a month ago. And your girl has been struggling a little bit because a part of me was just like, oh my God, like, should I actually sit down and film? Is this what people really want? But then I'm not kidding you. I got the sweetest comments while I was on vacation. I was on a family trip a couple weeks ago in Orlando. I was on vacation and I just saw the most beautiful, heartfelt comments ever. And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm meant to be doing this. I'm meant to be talking to y'all. And I want this podcast to just really reach and touch all those ambitious, high achieving ladies who want so much more in their lives. And I just need to show up and kind of, do the work and have the conversations. Like, if you're tuning into this, I'm pretty sure you like to hear me talk. So, yeah, I'm just going to sit here and talk to y'all. So, I have my notes in front of me. Y'all know I have a whole thing, right? And so, today's episode is going to be interesting because we're kind of crossing the line a little bit and we're getting into more money financial talk, which in the past, I've always been a lover of talking about money and financials. And I feel like it's a definitely an important conversation for us to have, especially as women who are in their 30s, approaching their 30s. And we've probably created something for ourselves already. We have a career. We're not necessarily living paycheck to paycheck anymore. But money and saving is still a very integral part of our day to day and, hopefully the creation of our hopes and dreams, right? So before we get into any of that, I just want to remind you guys that I am on Substack. Okay. That's where would love the girlies to come and have conversations and contribute to the conversations. I will say that I have been a little bit iffy with Substack because I realized very early on that I am not the type of person to sit down and write for 4 or 5 hours. So I'm very much more vocal and audio, voice spoken. So I'm trying to out a way that works over there because I love Substack as a platform. The girlies are over there. And for everyone that has joined our little Substack community over there, thank you so much. I love you all. And so we're going to figure it out. But that is where you will get any recaps of the episodes, previous and upcoming. And I definitely want to start doing some voice notes for you guys. And so you guys can just hear me talk. And it's free, it's intimate, and it's honest. So I would love to have you guys over there. And that's where this movement is actually growing and growing into its own fruition over on Substack. So go ahead and subscribe. It's in the show notes, it's in the description and come back here right after you're done so we can talk about money. So recently, I just saved an extra $5,000 on top of any liquid additional savings I have, anything that I have sitting in my brokerage account, right? And I did that as a financial cushion because for me, financial insecurity, no matter what I'm doing, whether it's a business, whether it's corporate, contract, doesn't matter. I need financial stability. It regulates me emotionally and honestly just makes things a lot easier. And so here's the truth about it. It made me feel really good. I was like, ooh, $5,000 saved, good. It made me feel responsible. I can pay my bills if something happens. I have this extra $5,000 that I could put towards it. And it just made me feel like a grown woman again that has her shit together. And so at the same time, the extra 5K didn't necessarily move me any closer to the life that I'm intentionally building right now. So, just to share with you guys, I see a life with me and my partner where we live part-time in the United States and part-time somewhere in Europe. Like that sounds really cool, right? And I see a life for me being work optional. However, I feel like I will always work because the work that I do is things that I actually love to do. And so I see that, but I also see myself building an amazing business again that reaches multiple hundreds of thousands of dollars. Like, those are things I want, right? And saving and saving and saving is not necessarily the thing that's going to get me there. Okay. And so again, all it did was make me feel safe. And while I needed that, I also need to be very honest with myself about what safety financially was doing for me. Okay. So for me, safety isn't freedom. Safety stops the bleeding and freedom lets you breathe, in my honest opinion. And that was where I had realized that saving is powerful, but it's not enough for the kind that I want. Like, I'm not going to sit here and save every single penny that I make. Maybe like in my younger 20s, that would have been great. Girl, I didn't save anything. I was spending, 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 going on trips left and right, buying clothes, wigs, hair, whatever. And there's a point where being good with money becomes a cage. And if you don't allow yourself to grow beyond it, you just kind of stay stuck. What we're going to talk about today is the difference between saving and actually building wealth, because it's not the same skill, but both are absolutely needed. We're also going to talk about why so many high achieving women get stuck in the I'm so good with money and responsibility, but they still feel financially unfulfilled. Okay. And then the moment where safety stops doing its jobs, and then you really need to let building freedom win instead. So this is for the woman who's probably done everything right, like I did. You know, you save, you budget, you track expenses every month, and you pay your bills on time, but yet something still feels like you're living the smaller life, right? You have all this money, but what is it actually showing for? Okay. And it's for the woman who's just outgrown survival mode. I know I spent like maybe the last 2.5, 3 years in this survival soft girl era. And now I'm just kind of tired of it. And I want a little bit more. And it's for the woman just that keeps asking herself over and over again, is there more to this? And deep down, girl, you know the answer is yes. Okay. There is so much more to this. So let's start with the saving part. Okay. Let's just kind of square that away first. So saving is essential. It's essential because it's going to build stability. It's going to reduce anxiety. It's going to make us emotionally regulated, right? Our nervous system. It gives us that breathing room, especially as an adult when we're juggling so many different responsibilities. We probably have kids, we have a partner, social life, work, just everything, right? So when we are good financially, like it feels so good. It feels like we're in control and that we have order over things, that we're doing the right thing, and nothing is wrong with that, because that is the foundation that we absolutely need. And so I will also say that saving every penny long term is ultimately a survival strategy, and it protects you, but it doesn't propel you anywhere, because what are you doing if you're just dumping thousands of dollars into a bank account every single month? And that bank account is probably not even a high yield savings account, for example, with Capital One. And so it's going to keep you from drowning. Yes, this money that you're saving, it's going to keep you from drowning, but it's not gonna put you on a yacht off the coast of France in the summer. It's gonna pay for that unexpected flat tire, which is great, and we need that, but it won't buy the freedom and the ability for you to slow down your work life or even just life in general and just live. Wealth is what creates that freedom, that choice, the flexibility to choose, and wealth gives you that margin instead of all that constant pressure, right? Wealth is going to give you more time, more freedom. It's going to give you the power to actually make decisions from desire instead of fear and desperation. And you can absolutely honor your safety net, because I sure as hell do. Like I I absolutely need my safety net, ladies, but also give yourself permission to dream a little bit bigger other than responsibility over time. A savings account is going to keep you safe, honey, but wealth can change your life. Moving into the next part, and this is about why a lot of high achieving women plateau financially. And it's because we were just raised to be responsible and not wealthy. That kind of hits a little bit harder when I say that out loud, but I'm just going to say it again for my girlies in the back. We were raised to be responsible, not wealthy. Okay. We were taught to avoid debt, but not how to multiply money. Okay. We were taught to save very diligently, but not how to increase our earning potential. And we were also taught to be very careful with our money and not expansive with our money. So saving feels safe because it's predictable and controlled. And that's just kind of how we grew up to see money as. And for us ambitious women who've always had to hold themselves together, control feels so dang good. Like when we're in control of everything and things are moving the way we need to, it feels great. But you know what exactly is happening? You know where your money is and where it's coming from, and nothing is uncertain. But what does that actually get us? Like, I really want us to answer this question. When we're in control of everything all the time, what does that actually get us? A boring life, a boring life that's being controlled by ourselves or possibly even another person? Like, no, that's not freedom. Control is not freedom, and control is not flexibility. And so, the life that we want, like the softer mornings, being in Europe for 3 months, like having to work only 10 hours a week, like those things actually require expansion and not just responsibility. For most of us, we stay in this good girl money mode because it's just what we know and it's what works. But I want to challenge you to think outside of that, okay? I don't want us or I don't want you to be like me and hit six figures, save consistently, invest maybe a little, and then we never grow beyond this. Like, this is our ceiling. Like, no, we need to be breaking these glass ceilings, ladies. And we can be very proud of the discipline that we built because there's so much needing, but we can also feel very capped by discipline because then we don't take any risk and we don't do things for ourselves and chase our dreams the way we want to. Like we're young. We're in our late 20s, early 30s, maybe mid 30s, and there is still so much more life to live. I was scrolling through Instagram the other day and I forget who it was, but I love to hear her talk about money and business. I think it was the Aspire podcast. And she was saying that women change or just anybody in general will change their careers at least 7 times in their lifetime, okay? And those 7 times are mostly concentrated after you're in your 30s. So, girl, we have a long way to go and there's so much more that we can actually do in our lives. And so that brings me to the next part, and that's why being good with money just isn't enough anymore. I feel like I'm a broken record now, but being good with money is our baseline. Like, we need it, it's our foundation, it's what allows us to hold those larger numbers when we reach them without panic or without self sabotage. But here's the thing, like, you're going to absolutely need those skills and they matter, but being good with money does not build the life that we're dreaming about. For me, I would say that being good with money, I need that skill set because it's going to be transferable in some way, but it's not going to make me work optional and it's not going to fund my $320,000 a year business that I want. And so again, it just creates stability, but we want to be aligned with wealth because that is what creates freedom. So you cannot, and I'm going to say this again, you cannot save your way into $1 million life. Like that would take years and years unless you're investing it. Okay, that's different. And that's something else I want to talk about. But you cannot save every single penny until you're a millionaire. There are so much better and technically easier ways to get to making $1 million. And it's not putting every single penny in a checking account. Discipline that made you responsible is the same discipline that we're going to use to make us wealthy. And this is my favorite part of this episode because I absolutely love talking about identity shifts. And the shift that we have here is from protection to freedom. I feel like that's kind of the moral of this entire episode. And so, as grown women, safety comes first, no shame in that. build your emergency fund. You absolutely need it. I need it. You need it. Every ambitious, high achieving, and honestly, any woman, every woman needs an emergency fund. And then we want to start cleaning up our habits. Okay. So those habits can look like, how are we tracking our expenses every month? Are we having conversations with ourselves or with our partner about, maybe we ate out a little bit too much this month and we need to chill out a little bit next month? Are we having those conversations, and are those conversations well received between you or between you and your partner? And then get emotionally regulated around money. I feel like I'm still working on this a lot because I don't necessarily I'm not a broke person. Like, I make enough to have a really decent, great life, right now. But I will say that if I were to lose every single thing next week, like, I would be crashing out significantly. And so I'm definitely still working on regulating like emotions around money. Rather, it's receiving an influx of money versus maybe more money going out than usual. Like, I don't want to be crashing out over that. And then the responsibility part, it's definitely needed because once we become responsible with 100K, we can be responsible with 1 million. But once your safety is in place, okay, and honestly, you can probably do this in tandem, your next chapter requires a very strategic shift into freedom building. You have to make the conscious effort, the decision to transition into freedom building. And that means increasing your income, building a business or some sort of side income, leveraging your skills to stop trading your time for money and using those skills to, I don't know, negotiate, make more, invest a little bit more, like learn about investing in assets, acquiring high value skills so we can transition into the freedom and the wealth building. And reinvention at this point, I will say, it requires a financial margin, okay? And that margin only exists when your income rises or your assets start working harder than you do. For me, I want my assets to start working harder than I do. And so, again, you can't just reinvent from scarcity. Like, you reinvent from a place of overflow, abundance, and even just, stability, okay? And so let's kind of dig deeper a little bit into that. What I mean is that reinvention doesn't happen when you're stressed or stretched thin or worried about this, that, and the third. It happens when you are so, I want to say, at peace, or that you just even have the capacity to think clearly. Okay. Overflow gives you that margin. Abundance gives you that margin to have the capacity to think and the capacity to actually dream. And when you feel abundant with your time, with your money, with your emotional space, girl, you make some of the best aligned decisions and not just reactive ones. Okay. So that's why building safety comes first. So then that you finally have the bandwidth to actually build the life that you want. And I will die on this hill. That's how I would do it over again. Like, I cannot build from living paycheck to paycheck. And I feel like I was pretty decently successful in my first business. We got all the way to 100K, and I started that at the beginning of COVID when everybody was laid off, including myself. And so, we're living off stimulus checks and trying to build something. So, I was good, but also I was in a place where my bills were paid. Like, whatever I was receiving, and whatever I was making in my business, like, my bills were paid and I was good. I wasn't great, but I was good. So you need to give yourself the capacity to think and the capacity to dream so much bigger than you are right now. And you can't do that if you're stressed out all the time. Okay, ladies. So some reflective questions that I would love for you to pop out your journal, get a little pen, or if you're on your phone, open up the notes app. But answer these two questions, okay? What number would make me feel free, not just comfortable or responsible? What is your freedom number? For me, my freedom number right now is $320,000 in my business, and that does not include any corporate income whatsoever. So that is my current number, and it'll definitely raise because If I can make $120,000, I could definitely make $1 million. Okay. The second question is, where in my life am I staying in the responsible girl mode because expansion feels too risky, even though I know it's what I actually want? So, what is that area of your life where you're staying responsible, where you're staying complainant? Write it down, answer it. I would love to know your answers in the comments as well. Or you can DM me on TikTok or Instagram and let me know what your reflective answer was. And so, a few takeaways before we wrap up this episode, because I feel like I've been talking y'all's ear off. So the first one is just saving. Saving gives you stability. That's it. But it will never give you the life that you daydream about at, all hours of the day and at 2 o'clock in the morning. If you are feeling stuck despite being financially responsible, it's because you've outgrown survival mode and you are craving the transition for something more. Another takeaway, your discipline just wasn't built to keep you small, and it was just built to support a bigger life. You're capable, 100% capable of creating, girly, okay? And true freedom requires expansion and not just protection. So feel free to take the risk. And if you want to talk about, girl, like, I don't know if I should be doing this, like, I don't know if this is right for me, send me a DM. Reach out to me on TikTok, email me something. Like, let's talk about it and let's have these conversations. TLDR, ladies, you didn't build all of this discipline just to stay safe. You built it so you could take bigger risk with confidence. The goal isn't simply to avoid emergencies. The goal is to build a life that feels powerful, abundant, and aligned with who you're becoming. Okay, so if this episode spoke something so amazing inside of you, I would love, love, love for you to please support the podcast and me and Selfishly Made wherever you're at. And if you're ready to go from saving to building something so abundant and you want to talk about it and you're dreaming bigger and you just don't know where to start, join us inside Selfishly Made on Substack. Okay. So all you got to do is type substack.com/selfishly made and subscribe. It's completely free. And again, like, we're just not saving over here, we're building freedom. And so that is it for this episode. I will see you guys on the next one. Bye bye.